Hi, this is Suchi and I'm back with another video in the NumPy series. And our today's topic is iterating over an ndarray or a NumPy array. So, without further delay, let's get into the topic. So, what is iteration? Iteration is nothing but accessing the elements of an array one by one. So, the first task is to import the NumPy package. And here we are also giving it a short name so that we can further call it with that short name instead of calling the entire name. So here I am writing import NumPy as NP and I'm executing this. Now the NumPy package, all its classes and functions or methods are available in our notebook. And we can call those things with the help of this short name NP. So first thing is we are creating a NumPy array. So here you can see np.array method we are using to create a NumPy array from a list, which is nothing but list of strings. And here we are having names of some fruits. So let me just run this. Now how we can access every element of this array? We can easily run a loop. It could be a while loop, it could be a for loop. Here I am using for loop. So here you can see I am running a for loop for then a variable name in which we will access individual elements of the loop. So here I have named it as for fruit in fruits. We can write X, Y, Z, whatever it is here. So I have given some meaning. I wanted to give some meaningful name. So I have given it as fruit. So for fruit in fruits, what it will do? It will iterate through this fruits array and take the element one by one into this variable. So when we print it, we can see each individual elements are being printed. So if we break after this, it will only print the first element, mango. Right? But we are iterating through the entire array. So here we are getting all the elements, mango, banana, apple, watermelon, pineapple, orange, one by one. So this is it. So this for loop can help us to iterate over the ND array. Now, what if we want to see the index number of the elements also? How we can do that? So this is, you can see this is a simple one-dimensional array. So the index number should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if we want to see the index number along with the value of that index, for example, I want to see 0, mango, 1, banana, 2, apple, 3, watermelon. So I want to see the index number as well as the value. So how I can do that? In Python, there is an enumerate function. So if we apply enumerate over this fruits array, what I can see is I will get two things. One is the index, another is the value. So if we want to have the index value also, we can use this enumerate function, which I have already discussed in the basic Python series also. So here what we can do, for checking purpose, I'm just printing the index and then one arrow and the value also. So if I execute this one, we can see the value along with the index. So here is what we see. This is the index number, this is the value. This is the value. Same, this is the index number, this is the value. This is the index number, this is the value, and so on. Now, this is happening for the one-dimensional array. What if I want to access the elements from a two-dimensional array, two-dimensional ND array? How we can iterate over two-dimensional array? So let's look into a two-dimensional array. Here we are creating one two-dimensional array, classes, which is having array of 1D arrays. So we can print this classes array. Let me comment it out, comment the for loop for now, and let me just print it. So this is the array. You can see this is a two-dimensional array where each element of this array is of the outer array. Each of the elements are again arrays. And these arrays are nothing but array of strings. So what is the dimension? We can easily check with ndim.ndim, which will give me the number of dimensions. So here we can see the number of dimension is 2. And if we want to see the shape, we can see it is 3 by 3. So 3 rows, 3 columns. That's it. So this is a two-dimensional array which we have created. Now what we want to do, we want to iterate over this two-dimensional array. Now, as two-dimensional array is having 2 dimensions, here we can consider it as rows and columns. So we have to run 2 loops in order to access each and every element. If we are running only a single loop, just for example, this one. So here what we are doing, for element in classes, print element. Element, I have named it as subjects. You can name it as element X, Y, Z, I, whatever it is. So for subjects in classes, that's what I have written. And then I'm printing the subjects. What it will print, you know. So now subjects is nothing but each element of this outer array. And each element of this outer array is what? Is a list of strings. So, or again, a one-dimensional array, one-dimensional ND array. So let us print it and check what is happening. So here you can see 3 one-dimensional ND array are have been printed. So here you can see, if I break after this, we can see the first element is nothing but this one. But we want to access individual elements. We want to print English, mathematics, physics, chemistry, computer, economics, history, geography, statistics. So how we can do that? Now again, subjects is one-dimensional ND array. So we can loop over that to iterate through each of the values, right? So that's what we are doing here. We have to call another for loop over individual elements of this first iteration. So what we are doing for subjects in classes, then for subject in subjects, again we are iterating through individual elements, these elements. Then if we print this subject, we can see that individual elements are being printed. So let us run this and see what happens. So here you can see we are getting our expected result: English, mathematics, physics, chemistry, computer, economics. So this is how we can iterate over a two-dimensional ND array. But what if we want the index number for these individual elements also? So how we can access the index number for them? So the same method, enumerate, we have to use. So this enumerate method we have to use along with this loop. Same loop, subjects in classes, but we are adding an enumerate over these classes and adding index 1. So index 1 will give us the row number. And here again, in each object, we are looping or we are iterating through each object, while the index number will be the column number. So that is the index2. So we are enumerating, we are applying enumerate in both the loops, the outer loop and the inner loop. And if we print it, we will get the proper index for each and every element. So if I execute this, here you can see 0, 0. 0, 0 is what? English. That is correct. 0 is at English is at 0th row, 0th column. Mathematics. The row number is 0, column number is 1. That is what we can see here. Row number 0, column number 1. For physics, it is showing 0, 2. That is row number is 0 and column number is 2. Correct? So that is what we are seeing here. Again, 1, 0, chemistry. That is row number is 1 and 0 is the column number. That is chemistry. And so on. So we can easily access the index number and the elements. But now you can ask, okay, this is for one dimensional, we are using one. Then for two dimensional, we are using nested, two nested loops. This is the outer loop for row numbers and for rows or iterating through rows. And this is the inner loop for iterating over the columns. Now, if we increase the dimension to 3 dimension, then what will happen? This nesting will increase. Like we will have now 3 nested loops instead of having 2 nested loops. So let's look into a 3-dimensional array. So here is our 3-dimensional array. This is the outer array, which is again array of 2-dimensional arrays. And these individual elements are 2-dimensional ND arrays, which are again having elements which are again 1-dimensional arrays. So basically this is a 3-dimensional ND array. So let me just print it. So this is a 3-dimensional array. Let us check the dimensions. Dimension. Okay. In dim. Let me run it. So you can see the dimension, number of dimension is 3 and this is the array. Now, as we have already mentioned, for 1-dimensional array, we are having 1 loop. For 2-dimensional array, we are having 2 nested loops. Now, for 3-dimensional array, again, we have to nest 3 loops. This is the outer loop for these, for iterating over the outer array. Then again, this is the another for loop to iterate over each element of this 2nd dimension. And then this is the third loop for the 3rd dimension. So basically 3 loops we have to use over here. So let me just execute this part. So you can see what are the individual elements for the outer loop. So let us see. Let me just print here. This is what we are getting. Okay. Let me just give a new line. So here you can see this is the first element. This is the second element in this. Now we have to iterate over this 2-dimensional array. So each of the elements of this 3-dimensional array is again 2-dimensional array. Now if we want to iterate over this 2-dimensional array, what we need to do? We again need to have another loop. And let me just uncomment this section so that you can see what are the elements in this second loop. So this time I'm just putting stars in the separation. I'll just remove this, and here you can see. So for individual elements, if we print individual elements, here we can see they are now one-dimensional arrays when we have two nested loops. Again, the third loop will iterate through each element of this array or this array. So this third loop is required to iterate over these one-dimensional arrays. Now, that's what we are going to do. Let me remove this and let me print only the last thing. So here you can see we are looping over this main array, and whatever individual elements we are getting, that is nothing but a two-dimensional array. Again, we are looping over this two-dimensional array to get one-dimensional arrays. Now, again, we are looping over this one-dimensional array to get individual elements, and that is what we are printing over here. So if I run this, here you can see, finally, we are getting the individual elements which we wanted to get. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which are the individual elements of this array. Now, again, if we want to have the index numbers, if we want to see, okay, I know that this is the array element 1, this is one array element, this is another array element 3, and so on. But I want to know at which index this resides in. So again, we have to use the enumerate function in all of the loops. And then we will get the index 1, index 2, index 3. So let me just print it to see which element belongs to which index number. So here we go. Here you can see it is clearly showing which is the index number for which element. So here you can see 0, 0, 2. At 0, 0, 2 index, we are having the value 3. Is it true? So it should be at 0th. So for the first dimension, what is the 0th index element? This one. So this is the 0th element. Then again 0. So that is this one. And then 2. 0, 1, 2. That is 3, which is correct. So the index for 1 is 0, 0, 0. That is again correct. 0, 0, 0. And this is how all the indexes are printed over here. Now, you can imagine this number of loops, number of nested loops is increasing based on the number of dimension. When the dimension was 1, the number of loop was 1. When the dimension was 2, the number of loops were 2. Again, when the dimension becomes 3, the number of loops become 3. So it will be increasing based on the number of dimensions. So if the number of dimension is 50 or 60 or 100, what will happen? We have to use 50 loops, 50 nested loops, or 60 nested loops, or 100 nested loops, which is practically not correct. So NumPy has a better solution for this. This is how we were iterating using our simple looping concept. But NumPy has one function which can help us to iterate over each element without needing to have multiple loops, multiple nested loops. Only a single loop can help us iterate through individual elements of a NumPy array or ND array, irrespective of the number of dimensions it is having. So let us look into the code so that we will understand it better. So first thing is ND iter. So we have one method ND iter which can iterate through NumPy array any dimension, and it will return individual elements of that array. So let me just run it. Let me just execute it. As you already know, stcounts is nothing but a three-dimensional array. So if we execute this for cnt in np.nditer. So np is nothing but NumPy, which we imported, np.nditer, and then we are passing the nd array, which is nothing but stcounts. This is a three-dimensional array. And then we are printing the elements. And what it will print? The same thing we were achieving with the help of these three nested loops. The same thing we are getting here. Right? Now you might ask, then what about if we want to know these index numbers also? Will it work? So let us check with enumerate. Does it work with enumerate? In the similar way, what we were doing here. So if we use enumerate over this, and then we take the index and count. If we do this, will we get the correct index? What do you think? Okay, let me execute it and show you what happens. So what we are getting here is, let me add one arrow also so that it will be very clear to us. So what we are getting? We are getting a flat indexing. That means instead of getting indexes like this, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, indexes over every dimension, we are not getting that. We are just getting a flat indexing as if we are iterating over a single dimensional array. So this enumerate function will not work with this ndarray method. So what is the solution? The solution is also provided by NumPy. So what they have done? They have introduced another method which is nothing but nd enumerate. So if we use this nd enumerate, it will solve our purpose. So whatever we were doing with the help of these three loops along with enumerate function, that purpose can be easily solved with the use of nd enumerate. So what happens? nd enumerate returns the index value as well as the individual elements of the array. So what we are doing for index and cnt in np.ndenumerate, and we are passing the array stcounts, and then we are printing the index and the count value. Let us see. If we just execute this, here we can see this is the exact result that we were expecting. So this is giving us the index number as well as the value at that index. So let us also look at the array now so that we can easily understand what has been printed here. So here you can see 1 is at 0, 0, 0 index. That's what it is showing. 2 is at 0, 0, 1 index. That's what it is showing. Let's say 7. 7 is at 1, 0, 0 index. That's what it is showing. And so on. So this is how we can iterate over NumPy array with the help of NumPy methods. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep implementing.